Hello, welcome back to Composition 2. Today we will be looking at Lecture 13, and we're still considering Chapter 4, Beauty and Aesthetics. What we want to do today is one simple thing, very clear, very simple, very straightforward, but very important for you to kind of get acquainted with and start using yourself. And that is looking at supporting material. What you need to do on your part is actually provide supporting material in your written paragraph or essay. So what we will be doing is we will be considering the example on page 73 as an example of supporting ideas in a paragraph. Now, if you would care to turn your textbooks to follow this on page 73, and I have it prepared for you so we can consider it together on the board here. So let's just read together. We won't take much time. We won't take much of your time today. So let's just read the paragraph together. So some aspects of contemporary men's fashion can be traced to ancient times. Now, this is the statement at the beginning. Sorry, this is not clear. I'm going to have to read it from here. Right. So the necktie is just one example. In fact, the history of neckties dates back to the Roman Empire. Roman legionnaires wore a focal, a piece of cloth around their neck in order to keep warm. In the 17th century, a regiment from Croatia, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, visited Paris and was presented to the king, couldn't get to that. The officers of this regiment were wearing brightly colored handkerchiefs made of silk around their necks. Louis, well known for his interest in personal adornment, admired these neckcloths. He made them fashionable in France and even established a royal tie maker. The origin of this version of the necktie, remain in the French word for tie, cravat, which is derived from the word Croat. In 20th century America, Jesse Langsdorff patented the long pointed tie, still popular today, and in spite of the trend toward casual business dress, necktie sales in the 21st century are booming, with some manufacturers reporting a 50% increase in sales in 2003 over the previous year. Now we've read this together. This is, of course, obviously, a paragraph written about neckties. Now, if you look at the opening statement at the top where it says, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Wonder if it would work. That make things clearer for you? Okay. Right. So look at the opening statement here where it says, some aspects of contemporary men's fashion can be traced to ancient times. So, yes, this is an opening statement, right, where it wants to talk about contemporary men's fashion, okay? Contemporary meaning now. It can be traced to ancient, this is the idea, it can be traced to ancient times. Okay? And out of all men's fashion, I need an example. I need something that represents men's fashion. And that happens to be, my choice would be the necktie. Okay? Because I can't speak or write about all of men's fashion. That would be too much for a paragraph. So, I chose one element of men's fashion, and that is the necktie. And I said the necktie is just one example. Okay? Now you have to tell me, you have to give me an example as to why the necktie can be dated back into history or ancient times. So I need an example. Okay? And that example comes ready after my statement when saying, in fact, the history of neckties dates back to the Roman Empire. That's pretty ancient. And that's pretty deep-rooted in history when you talk about the Roman Empire and neckties as, a beginning. So, the Roman Empire. Roman, and how is that? Give me more detail. Roman legionnaires wore a focal, or a fauclet, which is a piece of cloth around their neck in order to keep warm. It's kind of like a scarf nowadays. Now, another example, in the 17th century, a regiment from Croatia, which was then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, visited Paris and was presented to the king, to King Louis. The officers of this regiment were wearing brightly colored handkerchiefs made of silk around their necks. Okay? Now, the anecdote, which is just a simple story with no reference. Okay? So, King Louis, well known for his interest in personal adornment, it's just something known about King Louis, right? Admired these neckcloths. He liked the idea. He made them fashionable in France and even established a royal tie maker. Okay, so that's kind of giving us more detail about this. Now, the origins of this early version of the necktie remain in the French word for tie, just to give me evidence, which is cravat, which is derived from the word Croat. Now, give me facts as opposed to anecdote. In the 20th century America, Jesse Langsdorff patented the long pointed tie, still popular today. Now that's a fact. More so, and in spite of the trend toward casual business dress, necktie sales in the 21st century are booming, with some manufacturers reporting a 50% increase in sales in 2003 over the previous year. And here you provided statistics. Now, what this paragraph represents is that, or tells us, that once you begin your opening statement, right, that ends right around here, you have to predict what the reader wants you to tell him or her. So once you mentioned some aspects of contemporary men's fashion can be traced to ancient times, okay, fine, I follow. And then you say, you pick one element of men's fashion, and you talk about one element that happens to be here, happens to be the necktie, is just one example. Okay? The necktie is just one example. Okay, fair enough. Give me an example how this is, this can be traced back into history or ancient times. In fact, the history of neckties dates back to the Roman Empire, and then you begin telling the reader how it dates back. And then you give another example by King Louis here, and then you give a fact for Mr. Langsford, and then you give contemporary statistics. So if you train yourself to predict what the reader wants you to tell him or her, the more better your paragraph is going to become. I would like to stop here, and thank you very much.